Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Intro to Power Up Prospecting, with your MAPS coach, Bill Crespo. Please note this webinar is being recorded and you'll automatically receive the webinar recording. If you have any questions for your coach, please type them into the questions box located in your webinar taskbar. Following the webinar, if you have any questions about today's call or coaching program, please email us at fasttrack@kw.com. That's FASTTRACK@kw.com. All right, Bill, that's all for me. Go ahead and take it away.
All righty. So guys, thank you so much for being on and taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to me talk to you. Some of you may know me, some of you may not. We're going to talk about power up prospecting. We're going to talk about how to crank up your prospecting and get you to the point where you feel that you have total control of your business. First of all, for those of you that don't know me, this is Bill Crespo. I've been coaching and training. This is my 34th year in real estate. I can't believe I've survived those years. And I come from making a lot of mistakes to coaching and training and running my own company and, being a top listing agent myself and, making 100 contacts a day. So I get this whole thing. I also understand the struggles that it takes to really be good at prospecting and some of the things that go on in your business. So today I want to talk about you and how I can help you today. I'm going to give you a preview of what I'm going to be teaching in this group call, this group program that I'm going to be starting to coach here March 5th. I'm going to give you some ideas of the in-depth subject matter, how you're going to be helping yourself and techniques, how we're going to work together on this stuff. To me, this is the first level of getting you to getting more involved in taking it to the next level in your prospecting. So what are the reasons why today, this month, this year is so right for you to jump into prospecting? I just got off of a webinar just a second ago, and I told them this, and I feel it from the bottom of my heart, that the market couldn't be any better right now for you to jump into prospecting. Why? Well, because there's a lot of people that don't really know how to prospect effectively. They don't understand the psychology behind it. They don't understand how to change their tonality. They don't know how to determine the verbal and nonverbal cues that take place with people. So the market is right. And as I said to many of my clients and around the country when I'm talking, is that this is going to be a skilled-based market. And you're going to win because what I want to teach you is how to sound different. So there's a chasm between you and the competition that's out there. But here's what I hear a lot of. And if this is you, I get it. Okay, because I hear this a lot. Hey, Bill, you don't understand, man. These scripts, they're just not me. Okay, if they're not you, then we got to figure out what is you, because we got to get on that phone. We've got to prospect. Yes, there's social media. There's other platforms that you get leads on. I get that. But since the dawn of the age of selling, caveman days, you always had to open your mouth and you have to talk, even if you do something. So in social media and some of these other things, so you're going to have to talk. But I understand the challenge that these scripts don't feel like me, Bill. It sounds a little salesy to me. And that's not who I am. I want to be more of a consultant. I get that. So we're going to talk about that today and how we're going to overcome some of that. The thing that's killing us, though, the one thing that I think is almost like the disease to prospecting is this thing right here, the lack of consistency. And you know it. Are you doing it every day or you're not doing it every day? I mean, come on. I just went over in this last webinar I just did and talked about that we sometimes create drama in deals so we don't have to prospect. Isn't it funny how when you're prospecting, you got to go to the bathroom? Or, you know what? Let me call this one agent up right now. Let me check my email, because all these things happen. I get it. So there's two people fighting inside of you. One is that new person that's so sick and tired of not being consistent in their business. And there's that other person that says, hey, can you just relax, man? You'll be fine. Next month, you'll find leads. Don't worry about it. Relax. I've been there. This picture reminds me years ago. You need leads right now. Not tomorrow, not next week. You need them right now. And it's stressing you out because you're not making enough money. You owe some bills. I don't know what's going on in your life. I've had it all happen to me, so I clearly understand. I don't want you to be this person. So when you're with me in my group, we're going to work hard, and I'm going to give it to you straight, because you got to get your butt out of your chair, and we got to make these calls. And we're going to have to stretch a little bit. We're going to have to kind of get uncomfortable, and that's okay. Being uncomfortable is okay. So if I can get you to stretch and get you out of this mode that you're in through my group program and get you all pumped up and feeling confident, you're going to have breakthroughs. You're going to have a breakthrough. No doubt about it, you're going to have a breakthrough. Hopefully you don't look as nutty as this lady, but you'll have a breakthrough. Okay? All right, so we're going to talk about how we can develop these skills that we just talked about. So today I want you to take a piece of paper out. And don't answer that call. Get a piece of paper, and I want you to just have a blank sheet of paper so that you can actually draw a couple of things that I want you to draw on there, so you can understand a little bit about where we're going with this program. All right. So there's 3 principles that I wrap my program around, and inside of it, the guts of it has so much stuff in it. So 3 principles. So before you do any drawing, I want you to write the word ACE. ACE. They all stand for something. The goal of the program is to turn you into an ACE prospector. Really appreciate everybody being on too. There's a lot of people on. This is great. So here's what I want you to draw. I want you to draw this triangle. It's kind of weird, this little circle thing. Yeah, it's kind of mysterious looking, but I thought it was kind of cool, but don't take it wrong. Okay, so you're gonna draw a triangle. Don't worry about the circle, just a triangle. Okay, that triangle will represent the core of what we're going to be talking about and what we're going to be training on in the group program. On the left-hand side of the triangle, I want you to write for the letter A. That stands for approach. Stands for approach. Okay. So and the letter C stands for conversation. Conversation. I'll get into exactly what all that is. And then the bottom stands for, the E stands for end results. Approach, conversation, and end results. What I have done is taken the elements of our scripting and our calls and how to prospect, and I put them into these 3 categories so that you can easily understand how to take your prospecting to the next step. Now, what's interesting with all of this, there's something in the middle that has to happen, because we can get really good on some of the stuff on the peripheral edges here that I just talked about. But the consumer needs to feel 3 things from you. And some of this is felt subconsciously. They don't really consciously are aware of this. But as you learn the things I'm going to be teaching you, it's going to be much easier for them to perceive this from you. One is that they got to know that you're an honest person. And somehow that has to be perceived in the conversation, whether it be on the phone or in person. They got to trust you. Okay? And here's what happens when we get not a really good response in our prospecting. We over rapport. We want to be so friendly with people and so nice and huggy, and we have a hug fest, and we have honesty and trust. And then you call them up and you thought you did a great presentation, or they say, hey, no, we want to talk to you, call me next week. And then you call them up, and what happens? They listed, or they did an appointment with someone else, because the third thing wasn't perceived by them. They liked you as a person. They might like you as a family member, but they didn't think you were an expert. They did not think that you're an expert. And when they don't feel that you're an expert, you're just a nice person, you've over-rapported too much, and you've lost your ability to have what we're going to talk about in just a second. Now, let's take it reverse. Well, let's say that you do too much expertise, you demonstrate your knowledge, but you didn't connect with the people. There's no honesty and trust conveyed. That could hurt you also. That could stop you from getting the appointment or the listing or the buyer sale. Doesn't make any difference because you're too cold, you're too matter of fact, you're too businesslike, and you didn't build enough rapport. That can happen. Excuse me. So remember, I can't give it all today, right? But I'm going to give you enough that's going to help you to understand where you are in your prospecting. But remember that your voice when you're prospecting is the impression that they get of you. So my question is, what kind of impression are you giving people? What kind of impression are you giving people when you're making the phone call? Hopefully you don't sound like this. This is your slick sales guy. Because your voice happens to be the picture. Some of you have never met me before, don't even know what I look like. All I have, I just showed you a picture, but all I have is my voice to let you know how sincere I am to get you to your next level. And if you don't feel it in my voice, that I can take you to the next step in your prospecting, you're not going to sign up for my program. I can tell you right now. You think it's going to be another slick job. But for some of you, you're going to get it and see he's serious. He knows what he's talking about. And that picture in your mind of me is that he's going to help me. What is the picture that you're providing to people when you're calling them over the phone? Is it pretty? Is it ugly? You know, what is it? So let's talk about the approach. The approach that you have to have in this business. One of the things that I'm going to talk to you about in the approach is something that you got to learn first. You know how Gary talks about quantum leaps, and there was a quote that I read years ago of a book called You Too. And here's what it said. The things that worked for you in the past very likely could sooner or later lose their serviceability, even if your customary approach still holds promise for maintaining your present level, and change that word to performance to production and growth curve. It may not help you if you want to hit for higher achievement levels. What that means is that when I ask a person, hey, so what do you think you got to do? Well, I just got to prospect more. No, that's not it. That's your customary approach. Oh, I just got to put more hours in. That may not be it. Your technique may not be exactly the way it should be to be able to get to the level you want in your production. So you got to get away from a customary approach. It says here, if you continue to rely on those old routines, maybe even leaning on them the most when your performance flattens out or sags, you create a trap for yourself. There's a certain irony here. Your historical, most dependable behaviors can become the major obstacles to future growth. It's possible for them to cripple your progress. They may stand as boundary lines that limit what you can accomplish with your life. I believe that every one of you that's on the call here today, and there's a lot of you, have much more potential. I don't care if you're jamming it out, doing really good in prospecting. There's a level that you can go to that you're not. Let's go there. Let's do it together. But you can't go into this customary approach. Well, I'll just work late. It may be so different than whatever you expected. Maybe it may mean that you might have to read this book that I always suggest my clients to read. Switch. This is a great book on how to change behavior. And I highly recommend, if you haven't read it, some of you guys have read it because I've suggested a lot to my clients and when I go speaking around the country. Chip Heath and Dan Heath are business writers of books. And it's how to change things. And it gives you a really good perspective of sometimes why it's difficult for you to make changes and why you're not prospecting. And they talk about a whole bunch of other things, but it related so well to prospecting. And I can't get into it in detail right now. We'll get more into it as you get into my program. But it's when you have a small elephant, and the elephant supposedly is you, which I agree. That's the emotional side of you. And there's a thing called logic, which is the guy on top of the elephant that they talk about. And when your elephant is small, meaning that your goals for yourself, like drama happens, and that's another elephant to say. Your goals and dreams for you and your family go out the window because you're going into another emotion, which is drama. Unless you're strong enough and allow your dreams and your goals to be big, you're not going to change. And here's what happens. No lead generation. You got poor time management. You're more reactive. You're like floating around all day long. You have lack of steady income. If that's you, you need to be in my program. Most of you have to stop the squirrel syndrome, right? You know, the limiting those distractions. And I'm laughing because I've been there, right? You get a new listing or your email gets flooded up. You go, gosh, you know, I'm just going to check that right now, and I'll go right back to prospecting. Oh, I love this lie that we give ourselves. I definitely will prospect after lunch. I'm just busy right now taking care of this. I got to get this done. Drama, drama, drama. And do you really do it afterwards? No, doesn't happen. I want you to understand this very clearly about your business, and please listen to this very closely. If real estate agents ran a retail operation, they'd go broke in a second. Why? Because prospecting is the front door to your business. Is your door open or is it closed? Do you have set hours so people can shop at your store? What's happening to the front door of your business? So I always go to my clients, I say, listen, how often do you allow your people to shop at your store? Or is your door just really thin, like it can only open just a little bit, only certain people can come in? When you're in sales, the front door to your business is prospecting. How many people do you want shopping at your store? How many hours do you want your store open? Prospecting is the front door of your business. And some of you, unfortunately, have a lock on it. It's closed. No shopping, no selling. We're just hoping and praying something comes around the corner. I don't want that to happen to you. So in this market that we're in, it's prime right now. So that you got to work on one of the major areas, which is I'm going to talk about the approach. And the approach is what you do before you prospect. We're going to get into the setup of prospecting, your mindset, how to have more influence with people than ever before so that they will actually listen to you. We're going to talk about influence, authority, and expertise, how to get that in the beginning. Because if you have problems or challenges with that, it's probably because you fear making calls, you don't like rejection, or you really don't know what the right words are to say. And I get that. That's why we're doing this program. Okay? If you're having challenges with having some fear of making some calls or knocking on some doors, or you just don't like rejection, which who does, really? No one really does. Or you're not sure what to say and how to say it. We've got to have the right approach, and all of that is encompassing the approach. Now, what's interesting, for those of you who like reading, the book was called Influence, Science, and Practice by Robert Cialdini. And he did a study on influence and how important influence is. Because a lot of you just, man, it's influence that you have. Some of you are just really good at walking into a room and you've got this charisma, but you've got to have influence on people. And usually someone who's a specialist, who knows his business, has that influence on people. So I want to help you to understand how to develop influence. And here's what influence is, the definition of influence: the power to affect, control, manipulate something or someone. The ability to change, develop, the development of fluctuating things such as conduct, thoughts, or decisions. Here's another definition: an action exerted by a person or thing with such power on another to cause change. A person or thing exerting such power or action. Do you understand that influence, if you don't have that in your salesmanship, you're only going to be limited to a certain amount of production? And notice these operative words. Is it very interesting what goes on with this? And I want to circle these words because I think they're very powerful. This word here, right? Affect, control. Look at this word. Change, power. That's influence. How much influence do you have on the people you're calling? How much influence do you have on your own clients? You know how that goes, right? Sometimes they don't even listen to you. Because if you have good influence, you can change the conduct, the thoughts, and the decisions of that individual. So my question to you is, hey, what is your IQ? What is your influence quotient? And so in the program, we're going to help develop influence to a level that people go, oh my gosh, I'm going to list with her. I'm going to list with him. What is your IQ? There's 3 symbols of authority that people subconsciously look at someone to see whether or not they have influence. And this is based on the research from Robert's book. They look at, unfortunately, the title of the person. So obviously we can't do much in real estate, but if you have CRS, you have other designations, put them on your card. Your clothes. Okay, I think we've gotten way too casual in this industry. Things that, some of you are dressing great, but you always want to be one notch above your client when you're dressing. Well, how do you know that? But well, just believe me, it works. Especially if you're an amiable, going to a driver, you've got to dress the part. And your car, I don't want you to go out and go buy yourself a Tesla tomorrow. I'm just saying, is it clean inside and out? Does it look like you're a pro? That's how people judge you, unfortunately, from the research that was done. They're looking at you before you even come to the house. Now, in the mind of the prospect, as I said earlier, so you drive up to the house, they're judging you to see whether or not you have influence. And if you have that, that's one step in the right direction when you're doing a presentation. Obviously, this is not on the phone, but I'm going to teach you things that will help you with your door knocking. And then they're assessing subconsciously in their brain without them knowing it. Hey, is he an expert? Is she an expert? Can I trust her? Is she honest? And this is all being assessed in their brain. As I said, if they don't feel that from you, you're going to have difficulty closing someone at a presentation. Or this is a reason why maybe you're having some challenges with that. We'll help you with that. So watch this, guys. So we talked about the approach or what I'm going to be talking about. Now let's talk about the conversation. The conversation is the guts of the prospecting words that you're going to say. And, you know, my goal is to get you to the point where you're doing a lot more face-to-face with people. I mean, you're going to use the phone as a tool, but we know through Harvard studies that were done on salespeople that the highest rate of conversion happens in person. So we got to get you to the point that you're in person. And what's happening right now is people are trying to close so hard over the phone that you're turning off the client and you're not even given a chance to get in front of them. I got to get you over that one quick. So in the conversation, I'm going to teach you how to do a dynamic presentation in person, how to talk dynamically over the phone. And if you're using electronic media, whether you're texting or whatever, what words do you use to develop that conversation so people sense that you have influence and authority? Okay? Because if you don't have this, you probably are rushed, you really don't have a strategy, and you're a little intimidated by this conversation, and people sense that, and you're having difficulty in talking to people. So when you have a conversation with someone, when you're prospecting, it's so important. Remember back to the picture that we talked about is your voice. So you want to have really good tonality. And this is, if you look at this right here, if you look at the way this graph looks, you know, and you look at, let me go back, sorry. Here, this is monotone. So you want to have enough of a bandwidth here, right? So that it sounds interesting over the phone, right? Why it keeps moving. Downswings at the end sounds like you have authority, right? You know, when we talk about accents, I don't mean you just, there's a limit to how far you go with that, but you do have to sometimes talk broken English to someone from another country. As I said, a wider bandwidth. You have to raise your energy up when you're on the phone because the microphone actually brings it down. And sometimes you have to be 20% louder. Like if I go home right now and talk like this, my wife's going to lock the door and not let me in, right? So I'm in a role right now, the coach role, excuse me, the speaking role. And this microphone that I have in front of me has to be utilized properly. You have a microphone on your phone. Are you using it properly? Question. And then we're going to talk a lot about the scripts that you're using. What kind of words are you using? Are they helping you to create that right picture that you want of that of you to them in their brain when they're listening to you talk? Because again, as I said, your voice is the picture. Are you looking goofy like this guy? Or you sound like a professional and this person needs to meet you? And so there's a chasm between you and the competition out there. Your voice is your picture. And what's interesting, that you're connecting first subconsciously in the mind of the consumer. So in this class, I'm going to give you a secret weapon that some of people, if they follow me, if you see my stuff on YouTube or you go, and I probably mentioned it before, but we're going to talk about the RFO. And the RFO I want you to use on every script that you have in the beginning. That has been a game changer for people all over the country that have changed their script. It's called a rejection-free opener. In the class, I'm going to go over how to use a rejection-free opener. Okay. The other thing that I want to also provide you is what I call this QCDP. And these are things that Diana has allowed me to create, that I've had to give to you to help you. And it's a conversation track. It's a conversation track. And it helps you to understand what you got to listen for as you're speaking to someone while you're prospecting and knowing some of the tips to use. And I'll be able to share that with you. The other thing is also understanding personality styles. So important. So important that you're going to pick up, because we got all these different styles out there. You guys that we've done DISC, we know DISC, and there's a driver, the expressive, the amiable, the analytical. You can call them all they want, but there's usually 4 styles out there, and you've got to get really good to understand how you have to adjust based on the verbal cues that you're getting on the phone with someone. When you get to that level, boy, I'm telling you right now, you have gone to a whole nother place in your prospecting, and really a whole nother place in your presenting, because even presenting live, you adjust. I remember years ago, I was coaching Wells Fargo advisors. These are Series 7 and above financial advisors, and they're so analytical that they were doing presentations in front of boardrooms. And I said, listen, guys, you got to understand that even if you have 10 people on the board and you're heavily analytical, you're only delivering maybe the 2 styles out there. You got to change up your presentation. Are you changing up your presentation consciously? Are you changing the way you're delivering your conversations over the phone based on what you hear? And these are just, DISC, you guys seen this before. And then in the class, before we end, we're also going to be talking about questions and how important questions are, and how asking the right types of questions are a key to developing scripts. It's a key to moving the client to that next step. It's the difference between asking a why question or a what question with the right personality style. So the question is, why are questions more powerful than statements? Questions stops the brain. Do you understand that? If you watch speakers, back at speaking, I'm going to be at family reunions. So if you're going out there, be looking out for me on Tuesday after lunch. I'll be talking. But let me just say that if you understand questions, you understand the power that you have. Speakers use it all the time. They'll ask the entire audience a question to capture their mindset so they're focused on what the speaker has to say. You are the speaker. You are the motivational speaker for your client or the people over the phone. So questions have to be utilized properly in the conversation. Better questions gives you better answers. It helps uncover specific information. It establishes a bond with people while they're answering. They feel really good that you're allowing them to talk. And sometimes we run our mouths so much that we're not giving the client enough opportunity to talk. You have control, but not obvious control when you ask questions. It forces you to listen. The client can self-discover and persuade themselves. That is the ultimate in salesmanship. When the client goes, by you talking to them, discovers that you're the right person, and they make the decision to work with you. Wouldn't that be cool? I want to talk a little bit about how to do that. So just so you'll know, obviously there's many, many types of questions. My favorite book that I've read, you may want to write this down, The 7 Powers of Questions by Dorothy Leeds. I interviewed her probably about 6 months ago, and she's a fantastic lady. She's kind of semi-retired out of New York, but she wrote a fantastic book. And I'm only going to give you certain questions because there's so many types of questions. Obviously, you have closed-ended questions. You have open-ended questions. You have also what they call general, and then you have specific questions, multiple choice questions. You have assumptive questions. There's all kinds of questions that you could use in certain situations with clients. Can you imagine understanding this and being armed? I mean, this is almost like cheating, because you're never really going to manipulate a person's thinking, but you're guiding them through a decision process that makes logical sense for them. That's what I want to show you in this whole process of using all of this. The last step is the end results. So we're going to talk about the approach. We're going to talk about the guts of the conversation in detail, asking questions, and then how to close, the end results. The end result means setting the appointment, getting the signature, going to your next step. Because sometimes we can't get the signature, sometimes you can't get the appointment, but we've got to set something up for the follow-up. So there's got to be a plan for that. And I want to teach you how to have the right end results if you can't get what you want in the beginning of the deal. Because really, while we're prospecting, our job is really to close for the appointment. That's our job. We're in sales. Whether you like it or not, we're in sales. we're going to close for the appointment. And typically when we have problems in closing is because we really have no plan, no strategy. We probably over report and we became friends and we had a hug fest. Oh, I love your kids, love your furniture, love your drapes, love you. Can we just hug? That's your listing presentation, right? Let's just hug. And you're thinking, gosh, and then I ask my clients, well, how did it go? No, they love me, Bill. They love me. How do you know that? Well, we hugged at the listing presentation and we just had a great time. And well, I know their kids and great. Oh, okay, great. And then, did you get a listing? No, I didn't. What's going to go on? Oh, well, they want me to call back in 2 days. Okay, great. Then I go the next week. So what happened? Bill, they ended up going with another agent. What? You see, when you over rapport, they don't see you as being influential. They don't see you as being an authority. They will go with someone that shows that. I got to help you through that. In studies, there's all kinds of studies. This is one study. There's a couple others. 92% of your competition is gone if you continue to have different ways of closing someone after the 5th no. Sometimes people said after the 4th no. It doesn't make any difference. If you have one way of closing, you just lost an opportunity. If you have 4 to 5 ways, you just lost, all the competition is gone. It's just you and that prospect, and then you're able to get it. And I want to do it more from a consultative point. I don't want you to be closing like a salesy person. I want them to see you as someone, as I said, with influence and authority. But one thing that you got to understand, if you understand sales, that no is okay. Don't freak out about the no. The no is good. Okay? No is fine. See, because if you understand that a no is okay, that means that it's an unanswered question that they have. So I have to help you to understand how to deal with the no's. Okay? So just think about this just for a second. I gave you a lot today, and I really appreciate you being on. Thanks so many people for being on today. But how much can your business grow if you nailed this thing and you just actually took this to a whole nother level? Think about it. Are you losing 1 deal, 2 deals? I mean, I like to see people just man, I would love to see a whole pile of people on my program and to see production just fly. Guys, I've ran an office. I've had agents work for me. I owned a franchise. I understand how tough this business is. I had 6 kids. I know the bills pile up. My kids were in private school when they were younger. It was like paying for college in elementary school. I get all that stuff. So I am passionate about getting you to your next level. But think about this. If you started doing something that you're normally not doing and you start seeing results, how much can that affect your bottom line? A lot. A lot. And some of you know that you're not putting enough time into your prospecting because you're buying into all the other crap that some other people have been telling you about. Don't do this. I've done that before. I had one Frisbo that I talked to, and he was such a meanie, and it's expired. And you're starting to go, yeah, I guess you're right. I'll just send off some flyers. I want you to be an ace. I want you to nail down the approach, the conversation. I want you to develop honesty, trust, and expertise in the beginning so that they see you and that you know how to close the deal. That's my goal in the program. Okay? So here's what I'd like for you to do today. First of all, let me see if there's any questions. There's a couple questions here. Can you repeat the name of the book on questions? The 7 Powers of Questions by Dorothy Leeds, L-E-E-D-S. It is not like a storybook where you're going to get all excited about this. It's a factual book about questions. Really, really, really good. Okay? Good book. Great question. Thanks for that. Names earlier of the books. Okay, so the other books, just in case, was Switch, S-W-I-T-C-H. That is written by Dan and Chip Heath. And then the other book was, Switch, this one, and I forgot the other one. The other book was Influence, Science, and Practice by Robert Cialdini. These are all research type of books. So if you're looking for a story book, this is not it. Could it be boring? Yes, but there's a whole bunch of facts in there that's going to help you. All right. So let me ask you this question, since you guys are typing. What has been helpful for you today? Just type it in. I want to know. I want to get some feedback from you guys. What was helpful for you today? Did you get some information that you think you could use today, whether you're in the program or not? Do you understand? Just participate. Don't be afraid. Type some stuff in. Put it in the question section. It has to be a question. Just tell me, what was helpful for you today? Anybody want to take a stab at it? Let's see if I can see everybody here. So let me just check it out here and see what people say. Okay. Okay, questions, book suggestions, good. Switch, got it. Be a friend, not a buddy. Okay, listen, over-reporting is killing real estate people because you can only report so many people, which means you're holding back on a whole other group of people. So over-reporting is, you want to have rapport, but when you over-report, you're seeing as a family member, you're not seeing as someone influential. Really important for that. Great, thanks for that. Someone wrote down the 3 symbols of influence. Right, perfect. Needs leads now. Yeah, we need leads now. Not only on fear, rejection, analogy for the store. Yeah, that one hits home to me every time. Is your store open today, or did you close your store today? Is your store open today? Is it a holiday? Is it going to be open tomorrow? How long is it going to be open for? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a half an hour? You're going to make one. You're going to let one client jump in? Think about that. Is your store open? What's your hours of business? Okay. So guys, I'm excited about this program. I've been dealing with prospecting for years. Diana had let me do for 5 years a workshop around the country, Power Prospecting. Some of you have been there and done it with me. I'm excited about the opportunity of sharing this information to make a dramatic change in your business. Somebody said about the worksheets, intrigued about the kind of like the conversation track. Show expertise. Yep. I can totally relate. Thanks. Who said that? Sarah. Yeah, listen, I've been there, done that, have the t-shirt. Self-evaluation. What to learn more, how, the fact. Okay, so let's go back. If you want to sign up for this, okay, March 5th starts 2 p.m. Go to the MAPS coaching site. Get yourself signed up quickly. When you're signed up, we're going to start this thing rolling. We're going to make things happen quickly, okay? The book for the questions, again, somebody said, can I repeat that? The 7 Powers of Questions by Dorothy Leeds, Leeds. And that is a book that you probably have to order because I had a couple of them. My wife stole one from me, and then I had to find one, lost mine. So I download it and keep it in my iPad so I can have it on me all the time because there's some really good information about how questions were used and how the police use them in interrogation. I mean, there's a bunch of books out there, great books. These are books that are staples for me to help my clients in getting better at this. So if this was helpful for you, I'm excited about seeing you. If you have any questions, you could always email me if you'd like at bc@thecrespogroup.com. If there's any questions, you can go down to Call MAPS and get yourself registered immediately. The line is up. The registration link is up, so you can register today. And I was seeing all of you at Family Reunion. Come to my breakout if you have the opportunity on Tuesday. And that's all I have. Thanks for being on today. And Jasmine, do you take it from here or do I take it from here?
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar. And just a reminder, everyone who joined today's webinar, we will be sending out a recording of this webinar. So thank you so much.